Hello and welcome to Monday's edition of Cracking the Cryptic, which should be your place of calm and rationality and logic in an increasingly mad and dangerous world. Now, what have we got for you today? We have got an Arrow Sudoku by Nitchant Agarwal, and this is supposed to be a genuinely approachable puzzle. One of the most common questions we get asked is, please can you do occasional easier puzzles, because I want to introduce my friends to the channel, and some of the puzzles are so hard that they seem incredibly daunting. Well, I am assured this one ought to be approachable and everyone should be able to have a go and probably finish this. So it came from a recent online competition. It was a qualifying test used to select the German team for the World Sudoku Championship, which sounds very like it's going to be monstrously hard. But that's basically a speed solving competition. So the puzzles in the test are not intended to be brutally difficult. They're just meant to be elegant and beautiful and give a good experience of solving. So I'm hoping that's what we're going to have today. Mark said if I did churn through this video at a great pace, which doesn't sound like me, but if we did, he wanted me to try a puzzle that appeared on Grandmaster Puzzles recently. It's this one here, and I am desperate to have a go at this. This is a star battle by none other than Sam Kappelman-Lynes, one of my favourite constructors, and look, it's got the shape of a TIE fighter in the middle of the grid. This is going to be, well, I imagine that's going to be a brilliant puzzle. So if I do have time, I'm going to try that as well, and I'll probably put that video over on Patreon for those of you who are patrons of the channel over there. If you are a member of, well, if you are a patron of the channel over on Patreon, do remember tomorrow, 1st of March, there is a new Sudoku Hunt coming. It's going to be an approachable Sudoku Hunt, and we hope you enjoy it. We hope we beat our entry for last month's, which was 1,728 people or something like that. So that would be super. So do check that out. That'll be live at 4 p.m. tomorrow. Now, all that said and done, let's have a look at Nitchant's puzzle. The rules are very straightforward today. They are as follows. Normal Sudoku rules apply. Digits along an arrow must sum to the digit in that arrow's circle. So that's telling us that these three cells here, we add these digits up, and whatever we get, we put in this circle. So if this was, let's put 1, 2, and 3 in, 1 plus 2 plus 3 equals 6, so you put 6 in the circle. And that's how these arrows work. Do have a go. The way to play is to click the link under the video as usual, but now I get to play. Let's get cracking. And I have to say, it's very nice to be given some digits for once, and it's also nice to see 3-cell arrows. Now, I think we should start probably by looking at all of those highlighted cells, and that's because for every one of these arrows, there are actually 3 cells in a line, look, on every one of these arrows emanating from these circles. Now that means that these digits all have to be different digits, which means, a bit like the example, they've got to be at least equal to 1 plus 2 plus 3, which is 6. So every one of these circles has to be at least equal to 6. Let's put that in and see if that tells us anything about the grid. We can get rid of some 6s and an 8 by Sudoku. Look, this 7 doesn't seem to be seeing anything. That's only a 2-cell arrow, so that's probably less relevant. So, what I suspect we need to do here is to think about these 2 circles together. And that's because, look at these cells here. So, if you're doing Arrow Sudoku, it's a very good strategy, especially if the puzzles get a bit more difficult, to think about either rows or columns, or in this case, boxes, where there are lots and lots of arrow cells, but very few circles emanating from those arrows. And here, that's exactly the case. We've only got 2 circles here, but we've got loads of arrow cells in box 5. These 5 digits here all have to be different. That means they're a minimum of the triangular number for 5, which is 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5, which is 15. So if these cells have to add up to at least 15, and that cell, that's going to have to be a positive number, so let's put 1 in here as a minimum. These 6 cells have to be at least equal to 16, And that means this can't be a 6 anymore, because if it was a 6, you'd have to put 10 in the other circle, and that won't work. Now, you could unfortunately have double 8 there. So I don't know that we can take this much further. Although I should take my own advice, I think, because we can go further. Instead of focusing on 2 arrows, why don't we focus on 3 arrows and do that trick again? So these 6 cells, what's the minimum sum of 6 cells? That's going to be the triangular number for 6, which is 21. 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5 plus 6. So those cells are a minimum of 21. These 3 cells are all in the same box of the Sudoku, so they all have to be different. Can we see that? Yes. So they have to be at least 1 plus 2 plus 3. So 21 plus 6 is 27. And what's the absolute maximum we can put into those circles? Well, if we made them all 9, they would add up to 27. They would be 3 times 9 is 27. So that's what they must be, because it's sort of where we reach equilibrium. If you're thinking about this from an economics perspective, which you probably weren't, but we reach a point where the maximum in the circles is equal to the minimum on the arrows, and therefore we can actually force all of that to be true. 6 can't be in those cells. I've gone a bit ham on the pencil marks here. I apologise for that. This digit has to be relatively high, because these 2 digits have to be relatively low. So if we maximise these digits with 2 plus 3, this square here would still have to be a 4. So this is at least... Oh, and it's not 5, actually, by Sudoku. Don't forget Sudoku, Simon. This square here is not 9, I'm now seeing. Oh, right, but we can do better than that for this cell by thinking about Sudoku in box 5. Because the digits we've not thought about yet are the 7 and the 8, and they have to be there, look. So this cell can only be 6, which means this arrow must be 1 plus 2 plus 3. And that's no longer able to be 6. So this definitely does feel more approachable than usual. 6 here gives us a 4 here. Once a 9 arrow has a 4 on it, the other digits are going to have to be 2 and 3, because of course they have to add up to 5, and 1 plus 4 wouldn't be available because that would repeat 4 in the row. So this square here is now a 1, which means... Oh yeah, there's a 6 here. So this 9 arrow now has to have a 6 on it, so it has to be 1, 2 and 6. And given we know where the 1 is, this is a 2, 6 pair. So the top arrow has got to be 1, 3 and 5 now. And now by Sudoku we get a 1 here, and we are cooking with gas. This is marvellous. Now, can we go further? There's no 1 on that arrow, so this is at least a 5 into this cell. I will pencil mark that actually. 5, 6, 7, 8 or 9. Because the minimum value for this is obviously... Oh, it can't be 2 plus 3, so 5 isn't possible. So this is... Because if this was a 2, 3 arrow, this cell would have no value. So the minimum value for this is now 2 plus 4, which gets us to 6. This cell here is not a 1, look. Aha. Aha. Right. And right. Okay. So I think Nitchant has repeated the trick. So if we learned about arrows from this top trick, we should definitely apply the same thing for these 2 circles, because those cells are all in the same box of the Sudoku, so they have a minimum value of 15, the triangular number for 5. 15 plus this digit, which cannot be a 1, so this is at least a 2, so these 6 cells add up to at least 17. And they can't add up to more than 17 because the maximum we can make those 2 cells is an 8-9 pair. So this is a 2. And this is a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 quintuple. And this 2 is fixing the 2 and the 3. And now, oh look, yeah, this is gorgeous, right. So now, what's this top domino? It's not got a 1, 2 or a 3 on it, so the absolute minimum I can put in this domino is a 4 plus a 5, but that's also the maximum because I can't put more than 9 in the circle. The 9 sees the 9 here and the 8 here. This is very pretty, it really is. Now we can look at the 6 arrow, and that's because I know that a 3 cell 8 arrow must have a 1 on it. So where does the 1 go on our 6 arrow? Well, it must be in the very top cell, look. Now, can we do better than that? Yes, we can, because look at this. This is a 3 cell 9 arrow which has a 2 on it. So these two squares have to add up to 7 without being 1, 6 and without being 2, 5. So I think these have to be a 3, 4 pair, and the 4 tells us the order. 4 and 3 go into the grid. 4 is in one of those two cells at the top of column 4. 3. Oh, where does the 3 go on the 9 arrow? It must go in the central position using an unfamiliar tactic called Sudoku. Now, we can't put 3 or 4 on that, so this is a 1, 2, 5 arrow, which means there's a 2 on the arrow, which means this cell here is a 3, this cell here is a 2, 3 by Sudoku goes here in the bottom row, 3 by Sudoku goes in one of 2 places in box 3. Where does 9 go? In box 8, it's got to go here. So you can totally see how this is not intended, I presume, from Nichant to be monstrously hard. It's just intended to force you to think about, well, in this case, it is like finding equilibriums, isn't it, between the arrows and their circles. And once we did that, we've actually got off to a bit of a flyer. Now, there's got to be, oh no, we've already got 3s at the top, apologies. I'm now looking at the wrong things. It was all going so well. Okay, so we're now slowing down. Let's just try and do some Sudoku and see if we can see. Oh, the 9 here is looking at this arrow. So this has got to be a 7, which immediately forces this arrow, because it's got to now be 1, 2, and 4. So this isn't a 1. This isn't a 2. This isn't a 4, because there's a 4 in the column. This isn't a 1, because there's a 1 in the column. So yeah, okay, so the 1 in box 1 is now forced, which places the 1 in box 3 as well. And can we go further than that? Probably. We just have to figure out how. So we've got 2s here. We've got to put 2 in box 4, and I think it's only got 1 valid place. Now we've got to put 3 in, oh, nearly. We can nearly lock 3 into box 1, and we can nearly lock 3 into box 4, but I don't think in either case we can actually do that. So in row 4, you can see we need 4s, 7s, and 8s, and this square can't be 4 and can't be 8, so that needs to be 7. Leaves behind it a 4, 8 pair in the row. So these cells here are from 4, 5, and 8. Okay, and let's just try and do some efficient Sudoku to see if we can finish the puzzle off, he says. Yeah, okay, this column is done, isn't it? If we add the 6 in, it is finished. That gets us the 6 and the 8 over here. Placing the 8 now in box 7 by Sudoku, because we can use the given 8 at the top of the grid. So we now 8 is in one of 2 places in box 4, and we need 5s and 7s to complete row 7 of the grid, and we have a given 5 here to help us. So this is a 5, this is a 7. Where does 7 go in box 4? It's got to go here now. Also placing the 3 using our pencil marks, placing the 3 in box 1, placing the 3 in box 3. So we've probably, well, we've done all the 3s, which is good. This square's got to be a 4 or an 8 to complete this box. So let's put that in. Let's have a look at the top of this column now, which needs to be 5 and 9. Right, and there's immediately something I see here. And this is something, it's very good, I think, to get into practice of. If you're pencil marking like this and you see common digits aligning in rows, always think, there's 2 ways to think about this. You can either think about where does the 5 go in row 3, And you can see that because it can't go in these cells or these cells, it's forced into one of these, and it's going to be forced here. The other way some people like to think about this is to just note in this box, where does the 5 go? Because if we were to add a 5 into this position, for example, that would be a third 5 in 2 rows of the Sudoku. Now row 1 will have a 5, that's true. Row 2 will have a 5, that's also true. So there will be 2 5s exactly in these 2 rows, and those 2 5s must appear in 2 of those 4 cells there. So you can't possibly have a third 5 up here. That really won't work. So this square's got to be a 5, that's got to be a 1, that's got to be a 5, that's got to be a 5, that's a 1, and that's a 2, and that's fixing my 2 and my 6. So this is going nicely now. 8 and 9 can simply be placed here. That fixes the 9, fixes the 5. The 5 and the 4 go in as well. Good grief. Okay, well what about down here? We need 4s and 5s. So that's a 5, that's a 4. Here we need 6s and 9s, which we can also do. Let's see if we can do this. This is 4 and 7. I don't know if we can do that. Not immediately seeing how to. This square here is not 5, look. This must be a 2-4 pair to complete column 3, and you can see we have a 4 over there. So that's the 4, that's the 2. This becomes a 1-2 pair, the order of which is now fully revealed to us. This is a 6 by Sudoku. This is an 8. That's an 8. That's a 4. That, whoopsie! Lost my army by misclicking, but never mind. This is all going fairly swimmingly, I think, which is great because it means I get to try Sam's TIE Fighter puzzle. Now this square here has got to be a 4. This square now. What do we need here? 6s and 7s, which don't look like they're resolved. So something. Whoopsie. So something over here is going to tell us how 6s and 7s work. And you can see in this column we need 2s and 7s. So the 2 must go here. That places the 7, which gives us the 7, and that should be a 6. And I think we've done the puzzle. Very pretty indeed, Nichan, and exactly actually what well, it was what it said it was on the tin. It was an approachable puzzle with just a little bit of cunning logic to teach us about arrows, and then we could do it fairly quickly. So I hope you enjoyed that. If you are new to the channel, that should have been approachable. So let me know in the comments whether it was the sort of thing that you were after. We don't do this sort of thing every day, as you know. A lot of the times we have to absolutely beat our heads against brick walls for many minutes and sometimes hours, but it is very nice occasionally to indulge in a puzzle that's still got the same sort of beauty level but is a bit more straightforward. So I hope you enjoyed that, something for a bit of a change, and we'll be back later with another edition of Cracking the Cryptic.